It's not the fast food that's the problem. It's the net results of the too big of portions and sometimes unhealthy ingredients.
A survey published by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in early October shows between 2013 and 2016, more than 36% of adults, or more than 1 in 3, consume fast food on a given day. While several fast food chains have increased the number of healthier choices on their menus, they still have a reputation of serving meals and snacks, both high in calories and lacking in fruits and vegetables. On today's Sound Living, tips for eating in a fast food world. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman. There are a number of reasons we eat fast food. Convenience is the number one reason, followed by cost, the fact that we like it, a lack of other options, and eating with friends. If you're eating fast food several times a week simply for convenience, a little planning can keep you out of the drive-thru. K-State Research and Extension nutrition specialist Sandy Procter says that making a lunch or even part of a lunch to take with you is one way to eliminate trips to fast food restaurants.
I always have this talk with myself in the mornings. It's like, I'm pushed for time. But if I have already taken the steps to bag up vegetables and, the fruit is there in the house ready to pack, then putting together a lunch or part of a lunch is really going to speed things along. And when I say part of a lunch, that really helps. If you do still have to grab some fast food, you don't have to accept what they offer as sides, or you don't have to get the full meal deal. You can order a small single sandwich or a small single wrap or something and have those pieces that you chose to bring along with you. That way, you don't maybe have to commit time to packing an entire lunch if you didn't have it or the right things on hand, but you still are in control of the amount and the quality of the food that you eat.
It's an interesting point because a lot of times they have separate items listed there on the side that you can control. You can kind of make your own meal. You can do apple slices and a sandwich, that kind of thing.
And a lot of times you can get those less expensive sandwiches, which you're right, they're almost a fine print off to the side, but they may cost less, and the portioning of those is going to be a lot healthier. There isn't inherently anything wrong with fast food, but it becomes a problem when the portions are so large and the choices that we make contain unhealthy aspects. And we can do a lot about those just as wise consumers.
A lot of times you can also order a kid's meal, which is more, I think, proportionally sized.
It actually is. And that's interesting because fast food places, following some of the push from the previous administration to have healthier choices available for children, and then some of that listed so it's very plain for consumers to understand, a lot of fast food places have made healthier kid options available. Now, does that mean that that's what most consumers are choosing? We have some interesting studies that say, no, parents are still, at least for their grade school age kids, letting, whatever choices be not necessarily so healthy. So those choices are there, and they're there for all of us to choose from. We just sometimes have to think outside of the grown-up menu.
As a nutritionist and a registered dietitian, are you surprised when you walk into certain restaurants and they do have the calories listed? How many calories are in some of the fast food meals?
I am. And also in just regular restaurants where they have that information on the point of sale or on the menu. I'm always amazed at some of those hidden sources of calories. It just happened just yesterday. We were watching an advertisement for a restaurant, and they had all these things where you could choose the pasta and choose the sauces and make your own sort of meal design. And then they were saying that the most popular one was chicken Alfredo or something, which is really got a bad reputation as far as heart-clogging aspects in its traditional preparation form. And so, again, it's not the idea of pasta and it's not the idea of sauce, but it's the choices that you make within those. And people don't take time to arm themselves with the difference. Here's another example, a soup and salad bar. You can go through and have a low-calorie soup thinking that, okay, if it's water-based or broth-based rather than a cream soup, that's probably a better choice. Is it loaded with vegetables or is it got meat or sausage or something in it? So thinking what would make the difference on that. So even if you don't have the calorie levels listed, you can make an intelligent choice. And then the same thing with a salad. Yes, salad is by design pretty much healthy, but what we do to it can be pretty damaging. So how much dressing and what other toppings? If you load down your lettuce base with, say, macaroni salad that's got a mayonnaise dressing on it and then add some dressing to it, you're really adding a lot of high-calorie foods to something that could be real healthful if we take the time to choose wisely.
Mexican food can kind of fall into that same category of it starts out pretty healthy, but we can add some things to it that really up the calorie count.
Well, and just the sheer volume, I know on that, and it's like it all sounds so good. And so when you order the combination plate and it comes and it's the size really of what normally would be a placemat, and that's the size of your plate. Again, we're talking probably not the food itself that's the issue as much as, I've said before on the show, all foods can fit, but it's the volume of them and the moderation of how often we choose those. And so portion sizes, again, and some places will, for $1 upcharge, allow you to order from the child's menu, which usually has less sauces, a simpler fare, which probably will save calories. The portion sizes are smaller. And if you even add $1 onto that for the luxury of choosing smaller, you're still going to pay less than what maybe the combination platter would be. So making some of those choices and then doing all the things we talk about to be in the moment as we eat, enjoying the conversation, eating slowly, paying attention. Don't try to multitask. If we sit and we have focus on our meal, we're going to be more satisfied than if we do 14 other tasks and don't even realize, oh my gosh, I just ate all of, fill in the blank, whatever was on my plate. And some of those things really play into healthy choices.
The other thing I found a little bit surprising by the study was that people with higher incomes were more likely to consume fast food, and I think that goes against what we normally picture as someone who's doing the fast food route.
When you think about how much it costs to buy a soda as part of this, or that it's included in there, that is a lot of discretionary income, and it is less expensive to pack a lunch, or in some cases, just take part of lunch and skip a meal. Fast food isn't always inexpensive. And when we think about access to it, not everybody who has a limited income has a car, has a lunch hour where they actually can go out and access that. So I think there's a lot of factors at play. But no, I think we would find that it's probably a lot of middle-class America who finds their schedule as crunched as their food choices maybe that are the ones that are the really big consumers of fast food.
You were telling me off air that when you're in the airport, you like to find one of the breakfast sandwiches because you know exactly how many calories it's going to be, and you know that it's going to keep you satisfied. And that's part of this, too, is not only do we need the nutrition, but we need something that's going to get us from one meal to the next meal.
Right. And that's why I have made that choice and kind of shared it with family members, because I look for something that's got some protein and that is going to be freshly prepared. And so, when you think about some of these restaurants that fix breakfast items 24 hours a day, so I know it's going to be consistent no matter where I go. I know the calories, they're plainly there. There's multiple food groups. We've learned that for satisfaction and for health, if you can have egg or meat and bread and cheese, there's several choices that work together. I usually find water, or sometimes if I'm through security, I'll take a bottle of water with me to have on the flight. And I find that works for me because an airport and traveling, that's some of those cases where you really aren't sure what's out there and what choices you're going to have. And it's kind of when we allow ourselves to be backed into a corner, I didn't leave myself any options. So I have to eat whatever is right here, right now. And sometimes we all get to that point. But I try to think about what I can carry with me, what I can take with me to go along with something. So if I have a couple of little tangerines in my bag, in addition to a breakfast sandwich, still under 500 calories and really good, sound nutrition that's going to hold me until I get to some place where I can, sit down and think through my next meal.
This may be something that has to be baby steps, too, because I know we often go into a fast food restaurant thinking, today, I'm going to do it healthy. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this. We walk up to the counter and we order the same thing we always order. So maybe just making a few simple changes, like we said, maybe starting with just a sandwich from time to time and skipping the fries.
Yes, and even plan ahead a little bit. You know, all of the restaurants have, almost all of them, if they're a chain, have their nutrition information online. And so even if it's not posted there right at the point of sale, you can find out about those choices that you maybe automatically make. But maybe it won't be quite so automatic if you can see, hey, if I do this, that allows me to, cut calories. Or my husband and I have gotten to the point where he feels very okay with the fact that we go into a place and we order this to split. Making some of those choices. Go with somebody and talk ahead of time. Let's go and do this. I love this, but it's so big. What if we'd split this? And then, then that makes it a good portion size. It's a social thing, saves on costs. And you may be ordering food that's fast, but you're sort of stepping away from some of the issues. It's not the fast food that's the problem. It's the net results of the too big of portions and sometimes unhealthy ingredients.
Along those same lines, if you know that you do have to do fast food or you have to eat out for lunch or for supper, I assume the counter to that would be to maybe not eat as much for your lunch or for your dinner that night.
That's right. It doesn't have to be, and these are not brand names that I am trying to denigrate, but it doesn't have to be the Big Mac or the giant portion of something. Most fast food places have, like you said, off to the side, the small version, the basic version, maybe a kid's version, but a basic burger, a basic taco, something small, something that is really adequate for a quick meal. Again, if you've remembered or thought about bringing fruit with you or have some planned snacks later on, it doesn't have to be a large serving at once. And in fact, we'd be better off if we really were more in control of our servings instead of letting the fast food place be in charge of what we purchase.
That really rings true for parents, too. If they have that conversation with the children before they get into the restaurant that today we're going to order the apple slices and we're going to get milk or juice and we're not going to do the soda. If you talk about that ahead of time, you're probably going to get a lot less resistance once you're there and you're ordering. And once they get the food, that whole issue kind of seems to go away.
I think those are smart conversations to have with children from early on. Not that we need to have a focus on calories or talk about fat or how damaging food is, but families having conversations around food can be really positive, and it is a positive thing. And I think especially putting it back into perspective, remember when you were a kid and it was sort of a special occasion to go out for a fast food meal or for a meal of any kind? I know that probably dates me, but I remember that. And I remember these conversations too. But we also knew then what we needed to choose when we were there. And it wasn't because, I am pretty sure, it wasn't because my parents had a very narrow view of what was acceptable, but they wanted us to behave properly. They wanted to, have a little bit of say about the cost and also about the quantity and the type of food that we were going to order. So having those talks ahead of time, I think, is part of parenting through food. And honestly, that's a whole nother program topic, but it's really a strong way to continuously relate with kids.
The study kind of eye-opening, and really I think what we're saying is do some planning, do some thinking before you have that meal, and you might be able to save yourself a few calories and actually get a better, healthier meal.
I think so. And I don't think we're going to change the fact that many adults on many days of the week take fast food as an option. But I think if we looked into it a little more deeply, we could all be better in control of what that means to our health and our diets in general. And also that we as consumers have quite a bit of control over what types of things are offered by fast food places. And so I feel like as a consumer, it's important for me to say, does that salad come with the dressing already mixed in? Oh, well, then no thank you, because, I don't know about you, but I really hate oversaturated salads. And so taking control of that, the way that I would like things to be, and ordering those things and finding a way to make it work for me, I think is part of my job as a responsible consumer.
That's K-State Research and Extension Nutrition Specialist Sandy Procter. More health and nutrition information can be found at county and district extension offices and on the extension website, www.ksre.ksu.edu. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman, and this is the K-State Radio Network.